Hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake
You guys hear me?
Bosco. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right, and here we are for Broker Than You. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, the king of real estate.
Get that bicep in.
Yeah, there you go. Just like Tyler. That's what Tyler does.
Does he? Oh, I got to change that.
Yeah, Tyler got into a nice Instagram war. If you want to look at something entertaining, someone commented on one of the reels that he made, and it got to the point where they were going to exchange addresses and get into a fight. It was the funniest thing I ever read in my life. And I actually may pull up some comments to read because it'll annoy him. But yes, the king of real estate, Erie, PA, Laban Marsh, and the entrepreneur extraordinaire, Nedvonne Young, Fresh Laundry Company.
Yeah.
Chapel Hill, North
I'm
Carolina.
on location right now. I'm at the Mac.
We're on the site. I like it.
Awesome.
We're on location at the site. So, Laban, I wanted to ask you because I got several comments about this on Monday.
Oh, boy.
And I don't really understand what it means. Maybe you do, and I'm sure Fresh probably does. I'm not exactly sure what happened. The mayor of New York City, Fresh, enacted some type of tax on homeowners that would reduce the price of their home significantly. Did you hear about this at all?
No, I did not.
Okay.
What now?
I'm gonna pull up the article, but I didn't understand it. But it's not gonna be. It wouldn't end up being exclusive to the city because Mamdani would need to pass it for all of New York State. So that's why it was of concern, and it would cause a mass exodus in New York state overall. And New York City their population has already started to.
Yeah, they already had a mass exodus.
Yes.
That's how Florida surpassed New York.
Everyone's moving to Florida. Yes, everyone's moving down south. So I was trying to understand it, and I didn't quite understand it. So people had been asking about it, and we talked about it Monday, but I didn't really quite get it. Okay, all right. So this is what he was saying. It would be a 9.5% increase in for homeowners that would reduce the value of their homes significantly. No, it was more than that. I'm pulling up the wrong article. But it was going to reduce like a $7.3 million property with like a 40% tax hike to it.
Jeez.
It was something outrageous. Homeowners. I'm just trying to find it.
What was the source?
Oh, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. It was in the New York Post. It was on Fox. It was CNN.
But that's not everywhere. Those two
No,
are owned by the same people. They kind of put out the same kind of information.
No, I'm saying it was on ABC, NBC, CBS. I mean, it was everywhere that I saw it. I didn't see it just one place.
So it's like a new policy that he's creating.
He's trying to pass it because it would generate a ton of revenue for New York City, I believe.
Well, so as you look that up, I have voiced my concern about the city of Erie about the similar instance with this. Now, we have in the city of Erie a rental registration tax. They have a stormwater management fee, which is basically
here it is. I got it.
Okay. So, and real quick, what I'm guessing, and the reason it's going to bring down value, we as homeowners in the city of Erie have lost the potential for equity, meaning I've paid down my debt and my home has gone up in value, right?
Yes.
But because they increase property taxes almost every year, that chews into my potential equity because now I have that much more of an expense tied to the asset. And so the challenge is it creates where you should be appreciating in value to that point with the increase in cost. The value can't go up because people are looking at what their monthly payment is. And if the taxes keep going up, property values have to come down to meet that where people are comfortable with the payment, essentially. So
exactly.
So tell me about the article and what he's proposing.
Well, because people basically hope to pass on their homes are their primary asset in a lot of cases, and they hope to pass it on to their children. So Nedvonne is under fire for backing a plan that would slash New York's estate tax exemption by nearly 90%. A move opponents say could drag middle-class families into a tax burden long aimed at the rich. New York is one of the states that imposes its own estate tax in addition to the federal levy, and the proposed challenges would dramatically expand its reach, potentially sweeping in not just the wealthy, but families whose primary asset is a home they hoped to pass on to their children. So the example they gave was how much an estate can be passed down tax-free, cutting the threshold from $7.35 million to just $750,000 among the lowest in the country, meaning far more estates would be subject to taxation. And he is going to triple the state's top estate tax rate, raising it from 16% to 50%, a combination that could generate billions of revenue for New York. However, there will be a mass exodus. He said this proposal, there was an economist who came on that said this proposal will destroy New York City's wealthy in a different manner. The estate tax proposal will mistreat capital and result in the voluntary exodus of New York City residents and their wealthy to places like Florida and Tennessee. So I have no idea what any of that means. It just sounds really bad.
Well, it's going to be bad for the state, and it reminds me of when George Steinbrenner passed in July of 2010. The estate faced no federal estate tax upon his death in 2010 due to a temporary 1-year repeal of the tax, saving his heirs an estimated $500 million or more. Yeah. And as a Florida resident, he also avoided New York State estate taxes on his estimated $1.1 billion fortune, which consisted largely of the New York Yankees and the Yes Network. And so, and it says, as a Florida resident, because he was a resident of Florida, his estate was not subject to a state level estate tax. So, I mean, and it says the timing. Steinbrenner died in July of 2010 as the height of this legislative gap. If he had died in 2009 or 2011, his estate would have faced a tax rate of 45 to 55%. So, I mean, that is, and I think that's one of those things. I mean, I live on the New York State border. I'm licensed in New York. But Western Pennsylvania pays for the decisions made in Albany and Manhattan. And I think that is the challenge of New York State in general, is that you have all these different sectors of lifestyle, if you will. Western New York is far more like Pennsylvania than it is like Eastern or upstate New York. But any of those things, I mean, people are paying attention. That's part of why they choose. And I think it's hilarious in professional athletics when guys get drafted to certain teams in certain states where they're like, no, thank you. I mean, I don't know if that's why Tom Brady, went down to Tampa, but I can assure you he enjoyed Tampa a lot more. Yeah. So I think it does kind of go into what we've always said, which do your due diligence. And if they are thinking to pass legislation within your jurisdiction, have an understanding of what they're doing and what it means. Now, I think a lot of this, whether it's rumors or if they can really put it into place, because what I've heard, even Hochul is now, the governor of New York is backing down from all those, statements she had made earlier because she realizes they have lost a substantial amount of their tax base. So what can you do to incentivize, especially when you have a guy like him in Manhattan who has already admitted he can't do what he ran on doing, subsidizing everything. So
that's why I want to run. I want to run and just, I'm going to say, I'm going to give every person here $100,000.
You don't want to run.
People believe it.
Listen, they will find every last thing about you, what you did in Stores, Connecticut, and they'll even provide a photo.
My Pornhub site, the web search that I have there, that's what they'll find out. So we were looking at two businesses, basically fresh with starting Fresh Fold Laundry Co. Just past his first year, and Laban having multiple businesses, and it's a game, and it's very challenging to last past 1 year and last even beyond that. And one of the questions posed, and I thought would be a discussion, a metric that you obsess over for your business and that is critical to determine success year in and year out. And I'm not just talking net and profit and all that. is there some secret or some metric that people don't always think about that helps to determine your success, your growth, where you want to be year in and year out?
That's that's a really good question and
I ask
somewhat
them occasionally.
in depth. I mean, I think, as far as I don't know that there's a single metric, and you can't look at the bank account necessarily. And again, for our industry, it's a little different.
Yes.
Like one of the metrics I personally use is that we in real estate hold deposits when we have listings, right? Most of the time it can be changed, but most of the time a listing agent withholds the deposit. And now the deposit can be anywhere from $1,000 to, I think we've had $80,000 deposit. I mean, you can have substantial deposits, but one of the metrics I look at in our business is where our escrow account stands, both with property management and with sales, because I know that if I have a strong escrow account, most of those deals are going to close in the next 30 to 60 days. So in that regard, I have a little bit of hindsight on revenue and income versus some other industries that might be, you might go out on a sales call and you close on it within the week. You know what I mean? Like it depends on how quickly your transactions take place. And I think that's where, for me, the reason I say that's one of the metrics is it's what's in your pipeline, right? A lot of people will talk about your pipeline, and
you always got to have something in your pipeline.
Well, and not only do you have to have stuff in the pipeline, you have to have things, ready to go into the pipeline. And for us, like yesterday, I showed 2 properties, one a commercial building for somebody that's looking at something for his construction business, as well as golf simulators. So there's some unique aspects to the business side of things, like the parking and current use versus what he intends to use it for. And then I showed a residential home in a Summit Township where these homes rarely come up. But what we're starting to see is that they're pricing them substantially higher than where they have been, even in the last 2 or 3 years. So we are seeing sellers kind of feeling like, oh, the market is still strong for me because I'm a seller. And the buyers are sitting here like, we're going to start looking around because we know it's spring and more things are going to be coming up. So, again, as a metric for us, it's pending sales and or who do you have that could be pending in the next week or 2 if the right home comes on the market. So I think that it's a great question, and sometimes it's hard to find metrics. I would say whether it's your lead generation, because it's all about numbers, right? If you go on 100 leads, what is your turnover? Are you going to turn 10% of them and then up? You know what I mean? So I think in that regard, for real estate sales and even in property management, I look at our escrow for property management, which is holding all the deposits on the rentals. So I can guess that whatever's holding in my escrow account is about what I'm bringing in every month, because we hold 1 month's worth of rent. So for me in real estate, a metric would be pending transactions and or potential listings. Like if I start to see inventory creep up from, we're at about 350, 380 active listings. If that creeps up into 500, you can start seeing that, hey, this is a shifting market due to inventory. And then how long days on market, or the acronym DOM in most MLS systems. So how many days on the market? And then the last thing I would say to that, as far as, again, a tactic that kind of goes against the metrics that we use, is for days on market, you have to see if that listing hasn't shifted. Like it might have been on the market for 6 months with another agent, and now it comes up with a different brokerage 1 day on market. And so buyers are like, oh, this is a new listing. And it's like, no, this has been saturated for 6 months with another agent. So it can seem like it's a new listing, but you have to do your due diligence and know that, hey, this is actually, and I say that because if a home's 1 day on the market, you might be more likely to offer closer to asking price. If it's been on the market for 6 months, you got to believe they might be willing to negotiate. So those are the types of things, again, days on market would be a metric for how quickly homes are selling. And then for us, it's pending transactions to see what we might, and again, don't count your chickens till they've hatched.
No, of course.
We don't get paid until they actually close. So even though it's pending, that just means it's in position to close.
In the works. in the
Right.
works. Fresh, what about you? Is there a specific metric that people don't think about that is something you look at constantly that shows success, that shows growth, a number that you may rely upon that others ignore?
Well, it's a couple of things. And as Laban alluded to, in business, in most cases, in all businesses, like it's for the most part, you always have some type of sales, if you will. So when you have some type of sales, you have to, as mentioned, you have to keep your pipeline full. So you want to keep a flow of things coming in so that you can, determine kind of how to move or what you're moving. And then what he talked about, it was one of the things he mentioned was conversion rate. So you want to see what your conversion rate is. And ideally, a good salesman is going to always try to increase their conversion rate. Typically, if you can convert, a 10% conversion rate is really, is solid, right? If you can get 10, so if you get 100, you convert 10, that's great. So if you start creeping your conversion rate, some really good like percent, you're a rock star. Those are like the rainmakers, right? So you
Right.
want to do those things. So the touching those things is a part of it. But what I would say, um, is in addition to that is we always talk about the numbers, right? So you want to make sure your numbers line up. So whatever produces a profit, right? So you want to know, like, okay, what am I producing profit? People just kind of look at revenue, but they don't necessarily pay attention to what their profit is, right? What their cash flow is. So you should be operating from an understanding of, for every, uh, you know, let's say for every $100 that comes in, how much is going to my pocket, right? Or how much is coming, how much am I receiving? So a lot of times when you start in business, believe it or not, a lot of people they operate from almost like a negative. Uh, for every $100, it's like, initially it might be 10 going out. You might be negative 10, and then you get to the point where that's where you hit a term that they're in the black. I mean, the black meaning like you might be making a little bit of money, you're not losing money anymore, right? But you want to operate from a term that it's not really used, but I like to have coin a term is like you want to operate from being in the green, right? Right, where it's like all lights are go, right? Everything is in alignment, and you're seeing a position. So like ideally, you want to be for every I think, and it was the founders. I think it was the Waldens that founded Walmart. Was that the Waldens?
Waltons. Yeah. Waltons.
Waltons. So the way that they started was they wanted to make sure that I think it was 30% or something like that. They wanted to see like somewhere, I think it was 30% of they're like, I'll give away, like, we just need to see, it was somewhere like, I think around 30%. And it was like, we'll pass off everything else to everybody else. Like, we'll make sure the rest of the money is going elsewhere, going back either back into the company or going to our employees, going this, that, and that's initially. I don't know if they continue to do that, but it was one of those things where it was 30%. Like if you are only trying to see between 20 and 30%, you're making a lot of people happy. If you make a lot of people happy, a lot of people are going to continue to want to do business with you. Happy people like feeling happy, right? We talked about the other, I think last week in terms of about everybody is looking for that dopamine hit. So if things that make you happy, you give you that dopamine hit, you want to do that. So the short version of it is it's the numbers, but you want to know what your profit is. All right, what's my profit margin? Where my profit
Right.
margins? Like
Right.
how am I making money? So I want to be making for every $100 that comes in, 30 is going to my pocket. Once you know
Right.
that, that's kind of how you can operate. And then you can also, knowing your numbers allows you to pay attention to markets, and when things go awry, when things start to adjust, like when you might need to move that down for a period of time. You might need to move it to 20 to retain good people, right? Because good people go like, look, we're in a crunch, right? We're in a recession, like, but I need money. So this person might be like, well, I gotta go get a second job. Okay, you really act like, okay, what's that second job really gonna bring you? Okay, so if that second job, if you're like, okay, I can increase this person to this amount, would that be equivalent to that second job? Like, what would it need? What would it take for you not to have to take a second job, and you to continue to pour in and devote the time that you invest in this job? And a person might be like, their numbers might surprisingly lower than what you were willing to give up. You may only have to go from 30% to 26%. So okay, 4% to keep this person so they don't have to get a
Wow.
second job. Yeah, you do
Yeah.
that because it's a good person. Laban knows this. Anybody in business knows this. It's easy to find people. It is
Yeah.
extremely
Hard to
hard
find good people.
to find, and then to the next level is to retain
Yeah.
really good people. All right.
Well,
So threw a couple things
and
out
it,
there. So
and it's actually easier to retain good people than it is to go find new and roll the
yeah,
dice on how they might be. And it's kind of like, the folks that always think with a job, the grass is always greener on the other side. And I think that's where if you can retain an employee who has already been loyal to you, what you do, and now you also have to be careful because I remember I did this for my second property manager. You all right there, bro? Okay. But our second property manager had said that to me. He's like, hey, I'm working 80 hours, doing this. And I'm like, it doesn't take 80 hours. But he's like, so I think I got to find another job. And I said that to him, like, okay, what would it take for, like, what kind of bump would you need in your rate in order to not pursue that second job? And it was worth it for me to pay him that. But then you start to realize that he was doing a lot of busy work to make it seem like he was working 80 hours.
Yeah.
And even when you give him a bump in pay so that he doesn't have to
It
go
didn't
through that,
change.
yeah, it's like you give an inch and they take a mile. And so I think that's where, and at the time I was kind of desperate. Like I had already been through one property manager who had left property management, still with the company even to this day. But it was just something where it's like, okay, I don't want to have to train new. I'd rather keep him. And then by the time I was on my third and hopefully final with Marcus, he said, hey, he brought in a lot of clientele, but they are not good clientele. So
Right.
now by the third property manager, I had to cut some of the fat that the other one just wanted to bring in numbers. So it was like I paid him more because he was working so much, but what he was working on was bringing in marginal.
It was just
clients.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where, and again, you have to understand your business, know what it should look like when you delegate it off. Because again, as soon as he said, oh, I'm working like 80 hours, I'm like, dude, what? I've never worked 80 hours on this, and I have 3 other roles in the so part of that, you got to know what your employees are actually putting in or what it should take for them to put in. Because if it sounds kind of funny and then you run through it, it's like, yeah, he was just looking for an increase in pay and not an increase in workload. So you do have to be careful, but I agree with Fresh 100%. Finding the right people once you have them. And we've talked about this before in the book, Good to Great, where it's like getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus and the right people in the right seats. Because at the time, my first property manager was great, very loyal, but he was just tired of property management and he's into sales exclusively now. So having those conversations and understanding skill sets are important, but more important that second property manager we removed from the bus completely. And so it was something where you have to be willing to make those decisions. And sometimes it's, hey, we want to keep you here. We just need you in a different role. Other times it's like, hey, it's just not working out. And then they always say, hire slow and fire fast.
Fresh. I mean, you and Laban have both been in business, one longer than the other, but you have distinct leadership styles. Who would you say has shaped your leadership style the most? And who would you give credit for your success?
I wouldn't say one person in particular. I would say the person that will do it in almost anybody's thing that someone's doing, and probably Laban will probably agree. It's a mentor. So I've had many, right? And I think it's one of those things, just like how you have coaches, right? You might take a little thing from, okay, I got this from, I learned this from Skip, right? I got this stuff from Skip. I got this from Coach Bevel. I got this from Coach Wilson. I got this from so all of the different, like you take little things, little sayings, and little ways to move and operate from different people. So I would say just mentors in general. And so many that people that I've looked at and invest in kind of I was fortunate enough to have invested in me, if you will. And a part of it was because I invested in them, meaning like, hey, just even though all I could offer really was at the time of my time and my grit and willingness to step out there. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say one particular person in general. But there are some people like even some people I've never met, right? I would say right now, the person that's really shaping me as a human being, as a business professional is a gentleman by the name of Myron Golden. So Myron Golden is like the mentor I never met, but he's a very experienced and high level entrepreneur that that uses Bible principles to grow in business, and he can help transform someone's business without even leaving Genesis. Like he stays in Genesis. He take you to Genesis and just show you how to turn your business around if it's not where it needs to be, just by following Bible principles and certain rules. So yeah, so I would say Myron Golden is a hidden gem. More people should know about him and should look him up and follow his teachings. So he has two channels on like YouTube, and again, I've never met him, but I have no problem plugging him. So Myron, he has like the Myron Golden channel, which is just, and it should just be Myron Golden, his name Myron Golden, where he talks more about business, and then he has a Bible study that he does. I think at least might be daily, like maybe 5 days a week or something like that. But he runs both of those, and he's an amazing dude.
And he's not any relation to the Michael Golden, correct? No relation to Mike Golden, the elite
the
coach.
What? No,
Mike,
no relation.
No, that's funny.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think one has melanin, the other one doesn't. If I'm not mistaken, right now is that. If I'm not mistaken,
what's melon?
Melanin?
Yeah,
that's the element that kind of gives me my brown skin tone.
What?
Steve, one is white, the other is black.
Melanin. Steve, you okay?
It's called melanin?
Yes, melanin. Yes, Steve.
Yeah. I have some internally. I literally had a guy walked up to me at
You're
I was coaching my son.
You're saying that this is called melanin?
Yes, Steve.
This is a real thing.
This is a real thing, Steve. That's how.
I don't have any melanin. If I look up melanin, I won't come up.
I had a guy come up to me and said, "Hey, what nationality are you, or what was your ethnicity?" And I said, "Well, I'm Caucasian." He said, "No way, you're not Caucasian." He didn't say you have melanin in you, but yeah,
I've never heard the word melanin before.
Well, that's because you're white.
Oh, well, that explains it then. So that's a real word. Okay, I thought you were messing with me. You just threw me off. Okay.
You got Laban over here. You guys.
I have never heard the word melanin before.
That's great.
Laban, same with you. Who would you say shaped your leadership style?
Wow. I mean,
'Cause you've
it's
had a lot of
interesting.
family members, so
Yeah, and I think that is who I immediately think of. And Fresh is right. Having a mentor is imperative. And in the business of real estate, we named the company after my mother, who is
right.
without a doubt, I mean, just a superstar as a salesperson. But when it comes to running the company and the leadership qualities, without a doubt, my father, I mean, the patriarch of the household of ours with 4 boys. But he was a youth pastor and then a young professional leader. And it's interesting because,
Oh,
he owns the company with us, but he was a drafting engineer. He was never in charge of anything per se. But because he was so built from the Bible, I mean, his leadership qualities unspoken are what I lean on. And he's given some of the best advice in, don't let circumstances dictate your character is one of the most valuable things that he's taught us, and trying to implement that, it can be very challenging. But for me, it was without a doubt my father. And he's somebody who, when I first moved back home and got my real estate license, he said, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told your brother and I told your mother. If you don't know something, if somebody asks you a question, be 100% honest. And if you don't know, let them know that you'll find out and get back to them. Don't try to make up stories. And it's easy to do as a salesperson where you just want to get the sale, so you kind of go along with it. But that, I mean, those are just little, things that are such a big impact in how you go about business. And there was an instance I remember where an agent with us, she's still with us, doesn't sell a whole lot. But we had an agreement, kind of independently. And there was a tough time of year where she had a big closing, and it was I just thought of how my father would handle it. And I implemented that similar to how, he would go about it. So I think for me, it was my mom and dad. They're my business partners in the business. And like I said, both my mother is an incredible leader in what she does, but my father is kind of like the unspoken leader who, being raised by him, I know what his expectations are. I know his character and how he respects everyone, but also will not deviate from the truth or, what is right. And so, and then on the Robert Kiyosaki and Dave Ramsey are two, like Fresh is saying, people I've never met them, but their principles and teachings are something that I've latched on to specifically for my industry of real estate. But yeah, without a doubt, my mentors are my parents. And I think, you go again back to the Bible, and one of the 10 commandments, honor your mother and father. And I think when you think that on a lineage, right, like my grandparents and their parents, when you really start to see and think about who you're representing, especially as an athlete with your name on the back, we always played for the one on the front. But man, I tell you what, if I was not acting right with my name on the back, I don't want to ever shame my family or my family's name. And so I think that's where I hold both of my parents in such high esteem, as I did my grandparents. But, I think, again, I hope most people can say that. And I know that's tough, but I've been raised by some really good people. So I'm very grateful. And it's easy to be business partners with them, as hard as family businesses can be, because we were raised the way we were. I think we each respect each other, difference of opinions and things like that. But yeah, I mean, my parents have been fabulous.
So you had mentioned this, and we had several questions about it. So I wanted to see, because I thought it fit in. You always talk about due diligence and due diligence with everything you do, especially regarding real estate, regarding business, regarding investments. Can you give us an example of some due diligence, like a checklist or certain things you look for when you're doing your due diligence before you move forward, buying a product, selling a product, hiring someone, certain types
Well,
of
it's an interesting thing, because last night, the home I showed, right, it was Monday night, And on Sunday, my buyers went through this open house, and the open house happens to be right down the road from my house. And so I drive by, I see changes they've made. They bought it. The people selling it bought it in 2020. So it's been 6 years. And so part of my due diligence is go into the history of this listing. Has it been listed before? What did it list for? What did it sell for? Have there been any updates? So my buyers loved the home and loved all the updates they had done. So I go over a little ahead of time to walk through the property, and I see the siding is now blue, and it had been a tan. So I'm thinking, well, they re-sided this house. And when you look at what they paid and what they're asking, there's a rather large discrepancy in price, even though there's been appreciation in value. So I walk to the side and I see the siding. There's like a tan line in between a couple pieces of siding, which then immediately tell me they didn't re-side this. They painted the siding, and painting vinyl siding can be challenging. Then we go inside, and they didn't like the blue bottom cabinets that had been painted, but the top were white. So they were okay with it. But
you can't paint siding, can you?
You can paint aluminum. Yeah. And that's where I'm saying, like, you can paint aluminum siding. It's, pretty easy to do. I don't know that they've manufactured paint that adheres well enough to vinyl siding. And so you don't have that, 20 years. This thing's been painted for 20 years. I don't often see vinyl siding painted. So it's kind of a red flag to me, just because they're paint, as opposed to replacing the whole siding. So we go into the kitchen, and I looked at the previous pictures, and it was all oak. The trim was all oak, everything. Well, they painted all of it, and they didn't do a great job. Like, you open a door, and it's just really poorly done. And so I say that because they went to the open house thinking, oh, this has been all really nicely done. And then I walk through it and look at certain things that you look at, and you're like, hey, the craftsmanship or the quality of work is somewhat poor. And so it can all be fixed, but just like I'm trying to justify, okay, the price that they asked would make sense if they replaced the siding instead of painted it, if they put new cabinets in instead of just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So from the appearance, it looks like, wow, this thing's been totally updated. But then when you have a backlog of understanding and a history of how people do things, I'm not trying to kill the sale, but I just want you to understand some of the things that you thought added value and justified their increase in price were really just lipstick on a pig. So yes, I think part of that is that intuition. You know what I mean? Like,
she was guilty, by the way.
Who?
The trial I was talking about with the lady.
She was found guilty. Yeah.
Well, and listen, my wife and I love Dateline 2020. That story was just on one of Dateline, or was it 48 hours? Okay.
It was on Dateline. It was on
Dateline. So I started to watch it, and I was telling Meg, we talked about this. But dude, I fell asleep. That's how I'm going to go back and watch it again.
You knew it already.
I knew how bad it was. Wow. And that is a sad,
I want her
story.
Opinion on it. I want her opinion on it.
Yeah. All and again, I mean, but even when I heard the little part of the story, like, she bought this place in the middle of nowhere.
The mansion with the addendum.
If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Not it probably is. It is. And yeah, you got to have an understanding of what your true capacity is. And again, I've been in business 22 years. I still don't know everything. I'm not even close. I've learned a lot. But if you've been doing this for, at the time, it was 3 or 4 years, maybe 5. Like, I know you don't know enough, and I know you're speculating. And that is the worst part, because, again, now with this home I'm talking about, my buyers are interested. We'll probably make an offer. I don't know what the seller's going to think.
Right.
And so again, you might have a buyer or buyer's agent that doesn't notice any of that. They go ahead and buy it. And then I just wouldn't want my buyer to feel like, oh, I thought they replaced the siding. I didn't know they just painted it. It's just little things. I want to try to provide as much information as possible so that you can decipher between it. And I think that is the big part about due diligence, is, have you thought of everything? Because again, a lot of times it's something that you never even considered that comes up and bites you in this deal. And the last thing I'll say about due diligence is the commercial property I showed yesterday. he wants it for his construction company and for golf simulators. And he has an idea on golf simulators, the cost to get them going. But from my perspective, it all sounds great, but time out. Like, has Mill Creek Township, what do they require for parking spots? Because of your square footage, there's different calculations. And if you know, as we stand here, you can get 4 cars into the spot. That's it. Like, unless you acquire more land or tear something down, you've got 4 parking spots, So do you think with what you're trying to do, and I'm in the process of calling the township and just throwing out some scenarios, but yes, it might work great as a location and for what you're trying to do. But again, does it line up with the zoning, and is the township going to allow you to do those things? Because a lot of times, like, you might have gravel parking, and as soon as you think you're going to pave it or concrete it, now it's impervious soil and you need to come up with a stormwater management plan. And you don't have room for stormwater management. So now you got to dig up your parking lot and put stormwater underneath that, which takes it from doing a $30,000 stormwater management pond to $100,000 under the parking lot stormwater, which
all right.
will kill your deal.
We'll be right back, and then we'll finish up.
Down south, we have Julius Williams, Jordan Harris, and the rest of the team of the Trench Mob. They train offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments and college showcase camps all across the country. They have sent kids to schools like Florida, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, just to name a few. They have sent the highest percentage of kids who work with them to Division I schools on scholarship. To work with the best, go to trenchmobfootball.com. Nedvonne Young runs the Fresh Fold Laundry Company in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, a high-end laundry service. You book online, put your laundry out in a clear plastic bag. They pick it up, wash, dry, and fold it for you in 48 hours. They also offer an expedited service if you need that as well. They have an online subscription model, weekly or bi-weekly, where you can get your laundry done that way. They offer deals for college students. So if you want your laundry done, you can do it in your own dorm. They have a pickup and now a delivery service. So you can have your laundry done without leaving the comfort of your own home or dorm room. To sign up, go to their website, my-freshfold.com.
All right, Fresh. I know Laban's got to run. I had wanted to ask you, because you are in a completely different area, a different market than Laban and I, being in Chapel Hill, being in North Carolina. What local indicators, or what's different about the local businesses and industry that you're in down there have influenced some of the business decisions that you have made?
Well, I think everywhere has their kind of like unique points. What's unique to my area is, it's the research triangle. So it's the RDU research triangle. So Research Triangle Park, and then you have RDU. Like, so it's this area has a lot of unique points, and you want to get to know your area to know how to kind of like anything else, how to attack it, right? Or how to best strategically put yourself in a position to have the most success. So there's some unique things there. So for me, because of my services are not for everybody, right? So my particular services primarily are for I would say the working upper middle class. You want
the high-end clientele.
That people that have that value their time over money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people value their time over money. They're gonna go, all right, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. This will take time off my plate, and then I will have my time to put towards other things. So when you know, okay, well then you have to pay attention to what areas and what type of people would that be? Okay, it was going to be people more than likely, believe it or not, somebody that may have one of the parents stay home. Even though you would think, oh, they stay home, they can do laundry. No, they're like, look, I have to plan out all these other stuff. So they're like preparing dinner, meals. They have to put stuff away. They're keeping the house in order.
That's
They're
very true. Yes.
a lot of times, right? And don't get it twisted. A lot of times now you're starting to see more men stay home because a lot of women in the workforce are doing extremely well.
Yes.
A lot of women are outperforming, men from a financial standpoint because a lot of the
Well, don't go that far. We still want to be misogynist.
Yeah. No. I mean, you can go as far as you want, but it's just the reality of it is, you know what I mean? Like these women are knocking it out the park, and because of some of the opportunities they have. So if a guy's like, all right, well, I'll stay home and take care of, the kids, do XYZ. It actually is working out. It's working on really well for some people. So you want to know, I have to know these, so,
but I mean, no, but but Fresh, I think that's what's crazy to me is I know a number of couples that have a stay-at-home parent, and I mean, I joke around that I'm a stay-at-home parent, but if you look at the dynamic of my wife and I, she is the more corporate. Like she flew yesterday morning. She's in Puerto Rico right now.
She
doing
started
big
national
stuff.
Business, basically.
Right? Yeah, but it is one of those things where. But my point is, so I consider myself kind of the stay-at-home dad, but I don't just I still work. Like there's still opportunities, especially for stay-at-home parents, to get involved with different business opportunities.
Yes.
Instead of just like that's where I've talked about this before. I met a couple down when I was at a pole vault meet. He was looking up things for his appointments the next day, like mapping it out. And I'm like, oh, are you a real estate agent? He says, yeah, my wife and I work together. And I said, I'm like, okay, do you guys go on appointments individually? He's like, no, we usually go together. I'm thinking, dude, you can do twice as much business if you just separate. So I see that a lot too. Where
one must not trust the other, though.
Well, but I think they really think they add value to the conversation or something.
It's about concepts. Some people, they have a different mindset and point of view, and that point of view is it's older now. It's like, look, we're like divide and conquer, right? Which like, hey, divide and conquer.
I mean,
right. So why are you both of you doing the same thing? No, right? So like my wife went to an AI conference yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Met a lot of different people. Like I didn't need to go to. Believe it or not, I thought about going to the conference before she's like, oh, I just saw this conference. I was like, actually, I saw that weeks ago. I was thinking about going. When she said I'm going, I'm like, all right, I don't need to go. Right. So like you're gonna go, you're gonna get this information and you'll know. And I'm like, okay, and you're gonna come back and share it. Sure enough, she came back super excited, all these different things that's happening and all these opportunities that are more than likely to spin off of it. And so it's just one of those things where to his point is like, hey, lose your pride, swallow your pride.
Yeah.
I do think that's part of it, right? It is like a pride.
Oh, it is. It's ego and pride, 100%.
Swallow that, 100%. Like, look, let's be the best. Like the two. As the Bible said, two come together to perform one. Right? We're one. Right? So let us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be the best version of one that we could be. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
With me bringing 100% of me, you bringing 100% of you. Now we make, we form like Voltron and create this amazing thing that can conquer so many things and are just so versatile. So that's what you're gonna do.
I'll give you rapid fire 1-word prompts. One book every business owner should read.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
The richest man in Babylon.
Biggest hiring mistake.
Friend. You want to help somebody, you hire a friend because you want to help them out.
Or family.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes or family depends on family. Like I think Laban them is in a very unique situation. But just like if just like a cousin that you don't know, like somebody just need a little. Sometimes that happens.
Yes.
One or your favorite local vendor.
Favorite local vendor? Like somebody. Okay. Wow. I could get in trouble just because. Well, no, I don't. I mean,
can't
I'm
get in
loyal
trouble.
to my vendors. I guess.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. My electrician, Joe Knorr Electric is fantastic. When I think of a good vendor, right, for me, it's I contact them with an issue.
And they're there.
And then they stay in touch with me, invoice me appropriately, and
It's
the
done.
job is done. They don't have to come back to it. Jackson Plumbing locally is somebody like that. And this is somebody who I love because people say he's too expensive. I've never had him come back for a second job. He will explain why he might be more expensive because he's straightforward, tells you all the cost breakdown.
Transparent.
Right. But I think find those loyal people. The other one is Priest Heating and Cooling. Graduated with Mike Sprickman, and he's been doing work.
You don't have to name everyone. You name.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna keep going here.
Laban or Nedvonne, go ahead.
So what I would say I'm gonna throw a little curveball. I would say a team, right? So a team of everybody that people I try to work with is people that I try to in short, someone that you would be willing to refer to someone else.
Yes.
That is a great answer.
When you refer someone,
best compliment.
You are putting your
name,
putting yourself on the line. Because when you refer somebody's gonna go, hey, either that person you referred me to did an amazing job, great, I'm gonna work with them again. Or that person screwed me.
Yeah, thanks. You screwed me. Right.
Yeah. So somebody you refer someone to.
Laban, is UConn gonna be in the Final Four next weekend?
100%, both men and women, without a doubt. Listen, I almost made Lincoln, my 10-year-old, walk home from practice because we were talking the first night, and I said, I got UConn in all 7 of my brackets to win it. And Lincoln's like, well, I want UConn to win, but I picked Duke. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Duke is going to lose to St. John's.
Yes,
Duke
100%.
St. John's.
But I don't know if he understands the history of Duke. 1998 was the best win because it was over Duke. I can't stand Duke. I've never liked Duke.
Nobody does.
Honestly, I love Lincoln to death. Almost made him walk.
Yeah.
I could not believe. I mean, I spun so hard, my hand almost hit him.
I would have co-signed that one.
Yeah. So UConn, without a doubt, will be in the Final Four, both men and women. And the women, I hope somebody can score more than half the points of what
UConn 50 points.
Scored.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Fresh?
This is Matt. To me, I want the women. I see the women getting 13. Right? That would be 13, right?
Yeah.
So I want to see them get 13, and I want to see us get 7.
Yep.
So I definitely, what I will say is this. I think, in my opinion, St. John's is the most dangerous team in the tournament.
Okay, but
I
listen.
don't know anybody who wants to play them.
No,
I don't want to play them again, but it looks like that's what it's lining up.
Okay, but think about UConn right now, because I'm curious to see who comes out against Michigan State. Because first night was Terrace Reed, 30-27, unreal. Right?
Yep.
Mullins finally started to hit in the second half. We have not had solo ball
at
all.
Solo ball didn't play off.
Bro, I mean, if you start playing better together, we're unstoppable. Yeah. The fact that we can win with one guy going off, I mean, I just think.
Actually, we had multiple. See, you sleep on what Caravan did. People sleep on what Caravan did.
They had a game of his life. No, you're right.
Caravan went crazy.
It was without a doubt Caravan's night.
So he did not allow momentum to be taken. So the thing is, every time they were moving, he just kind of killed the momentum with like a slash to the basket or a 3, and he did it.
And after last season, dude, he deserves to go out like this. I mean, you're without a doubt. But I still think, again, we got guys who we've relied on. I mean, Mullins and Ball were absent from the first round, right? Yeah. And AK carried them this past game.
Big East tournament.
Yeah. So I was a little nervous even in the first half. By the time they get ahead by 10, 12, and they're holding we're good. Yeah. I mean, and they're great in the fourth quarter. Danny knows how to pull it together, second half, whatever you want to call it. But
once I hope Duke wins. Let's put it that way. I do agree with you. I don't want to play St. John's.
No. I think we will beat St. John's.
Yes,
but I think
I'd rather play Duke. I would rather play Duke. I don't
too.
think Duke. I mean, I know they got the Boozer twins, but I think we'll be fine. Whoever we play,
I think that between Carabin and Reed, they're going out like they're the seniors. They're like, yo,
and
I'm not trying to. So I
healthy.
think that's more from a desperation point. And I keep saying this. I don't think we don't have no one has stepped up to be like, I am the put it on, like, give me the ball, get out the way. Like, put it on me,
my
coach.
back. Yeah,
And
I think the person that has the
good job.
potential to do that
Solo.
is Solo.
And
But
he has
Solo
not.
is just whatever's going on. If there's something going on, I don't know what it is. I think it's think it's a mental thing. Something happened that no one's talking about.
He only played 13 minutes.
But listen, I mean, they interviewed Danny, and he even said when they asked about Solo Ball, they're like, when he's out there, he's kind of worthless. I just like that Dan, and I think Solo and these players know it. Like, if they're not on, they got enough depth in their bench to where they're fine. I mean, Smith came in instead of Silas, or and he handled that raw, because they were playing aggressive defense on the ball, and I don't know if he had a turnover, off the dribbler. Like, he was strong.
That combination, that 2 point guard combination, it works well because both of them do well on defense. Smith is way more aggressive,
much more.
When you have both of them out there, but it also going to depend on size. I think it's hard for us to do that against St. John's, and I think Duke has a lot of size too.
Duke's got some decent
size.
They
got some size. So you need
they need Ryba to play well.
Someone like a Solo to step up. I mean, Ryba, he's still young.
Ryba drives me nuts. I want to punch him in the face.
He's young, dude. He's young. He's still young.
I know.
Right.
He's 7'2" and he tries to lay it up. I want to punch him.
Right. I mean, he does make me nervous when he's in there. It's like, you don't know if he's just going to hack somebody and foul, or if he's going to miss a little dink. So
he's always interesting. All right, guys, great show. Laban Marsh, king of real estate, Erie, Pennsylvania. Nedvonne Young, Fresh Fold Laundry Co., Chapel Hill, North Carolina, entrepreneur extraordinaire. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.